I know, you're probably thinking, oh no, here's this bad news bear again preaching his gospel of depression, that everything's poisoning us. About now, some of you might feel like throwing a penalty flag on me for piling on. So let's turn our attention for a minute back to why we care about hormone disruptors. The endocrine system is a brilliant control and operations center, a network of communication and regulation geared up to keep you at full strength in fighting condition, ready to propagate the species with strong offspring. By saying that, I don't mean the endocrine system, and specifically these hormones we talk about are all centered around sex. But if you look around you in the biology world, a great deal of energy and resources are recruited in all species to get to that ultimate goal of replacing yourself. You won't be around forever. Strong heart, good circulation, quick reflexes, strong bones, clear cognition, drive, and motivation. These are all part and parcel of these things we call sex hormones. Appendages of these steroids, in a good sense of the word, that we tend to primarily associate with sex. And it makes sense, because if you don't present a strong option for reproductive prospects, or don't survive long enough to score on that front, forgive my vernacular there, this species is in peril. At least your genetic line is. So the scope of human hormone health has been very broadened in recent years. I always say hormones are not just about menopause or andropause anymore. And these are not the hormones your mother took. The medical world used to say treat symptoms of middle-age menopause like hot flashes, anxiety, and weight gain until they subside and then stop. I believe that approach is 50 years old and stale, because studies and our clinical experience show that these same hormones that relieve those middle-age symptoms are also maintaining body systems that keep us well, strong, and maybe more importantly, active and happy. What got me hot on the subject of estrogenics and hormone disruption is the fact that I'm seeing younger and younger women, and more surprisingly to me, men in my office complaining of things that I used to see mainly in middle age. About this time, I heard a guy named Anthony J., a PhD biochemist, speak at a medical conference, and got introduced to his book, Estrogeneration. This lined up and corroborated my thinking that these hormones issues in younger people must be environmentally caused, because they're otherwise healthy young people, like early and middle 30s. It gets more serious than this, because the complaints extended beyond just symptoms that were inconvenient, like libido and lack of sexual function. In many cases, they were having problems with fertility, and that's a whole other serious. So let's do a quick review. The endocrine system attempts to get adequate hormones to receptor sites throughout the body to communicate a need and precipitate an action. And when this breaks down, we spend a lot of effort replenishing the hormone levels at the front end of this functional axis, if you will, and largely we have good success, but that's only part of the fix. What happens if something messes with the receptor site? We've got hormone all dressed up with nowhere to go. It's just sitting there singing in the wind. So if you'll indulge me a war analogy, it's like loud and clear orders from the commanding general out of headquarters are not making it to the front line because the receiving radios are jammed. We might not win that war, at least not decisively and without more casualties. That's what hormone disruptors do. There are already a lot of individual variables a practitioner has to take into consideration with patients and patients. There are bioavailability, absorption issues, and innate genetic differences in receptor sensitivity, just to name a couple. When you throw interference at the receptor site into the mix, can you see how it can render labs less meaningful? You can have normal and even high levels of hormone in the blood, but the message is not getting through because it's getting a busy signal at the receiving end. The consumer products, food, big agriculture industries, they don't care what they do to your hormones. They have profit to make. Will government take care of you? Well, there's evidence to the contrary. So you have to care. I have to keep piling it on because the list goes on and on. Hormone disruptors are everywhere. And because they're everywhere, all those different exposures from different agents through different media add up. You can only change what you control right now, but that's enough. But you can't change anything you don't know about. So if I can get you to be a little more aware and do a little bit more to reduce your exposure in several areas, that adds up too in your defense. Sometimes we just need to get smart, remove any obstacles, disruptors that we've put in place, and let the body do its thing.